guess this presentation is more of a hands-on kind of demo. So what I'm actually going to do is show you a very simple dashboard. Well, we call it dashboard app, but basically it's just a simple demo Java app, just to show like how you take some of the pieces from there and kind of port it over to WebWorks. Okay. So these are kind of the must-haves for this. Yeah, I think that we actually kind of use these slides for like hackathons, so where people could kind of follow along. So this slide is kind of here for that, just to make sure that you guys have the right things, but I don't see anybody here with a laptop, so let me skip that. And I'm going to skip this site. This is basically the developer site, so you guys have already seen this. And you've already seen that. Okay, so this is kind of what's on, I guess, the agenda for this session. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about, probably be shorter than, probably about 10 minutes to kind of convert the user interface that's already done in Java and kind of like go to the BBUI site, kind of take samples from there and show you kind of how to, pull the code out and, create your own user interface that kind of mimics the Java one that I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to show you the config.xml file. I think I gave you a brief intro already, but I'll actually dive a little deeper into it. And then we're going to convert some of the actual Java features. So the main one I'll be looking at is like identity information or like PIN information. So how to kind of get that stuff out of there. And then we're just going to demo it with Ripple and declare success in 0 minutes. Sorry, these aren't my slides. Okay. Have you guys already installed like WebWorks in your own environments? No, first time. Okay, guess I can't really do that. I can kind of show you where to go to kind of do that stuff. So let me switch gears here to my browser. So basically the first thing you want to do is go to the WebWorks site, go to downloads, and there's different things you can get. So you can grab the Ripple, but probably the thing you'll want first is this the actual SDK to actually package up your application. So you'll need to come to this site here, and there's different SDKs on here. There's actually 3 different ones. So there's one for BB10 WebWorks. So you can actually just click here and download this one. It's a 10 meg download for Windows. If you're actually on a Mac, you can actually download the Mac version. It'll actually show you the correct link here for Mac. There's a smartphone SDK, so if you know you're only going to develop an application for like BB5, BB6, or BB7, then you'll want to grab this one. And if you want to develop something for like the playbook 1 and 2, then just grab this one. But I suspect probably most of you will probably just want to grab the BB10 WebWorks SDK here and install that. And I think for these other ones, you'll have to install like Java and things like that. So there's actually installation instructions here that you can click on and some system requirements. I'm sure most of you guys have the adequate requirements for systems. So basically, so actually, I'll just go through this quickly just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So you'll get like an exe like that, and you can just install that. So just run it, install it, and it will actually get loaded into the default installation goes to program files. So it'll go program files, and then it sticks it under research in motion. And there's a version here. This was 1.0.1. Okay, I think this is a newer version than mine. So I've got 1.0.1.5. So the nice thing about all these different SDKs is you can actually install all the different versions. Right, so they kind of live in their own space and they play nicely with each other. So I can actually go ahead and install like the SDK for the tablet, and where's the one for the smartphone? So there's the actual one for the smartphone, and then I've got like simulators and stuff like that in here as well. So so if you just take a quick look here, you'll see like there's batch files, you'll see there's libraries and stuff like that. So once that gets installed, then you're pretty much set up. Okay, the next thing you can do is install the Ripple extension. So again, you can go back to the developer site, click on the link to install that, and it will actually install it to program files, research in motion, Ripple, and the version number there. And then what you need to do to actually install the extension is actually look for this Ripple underscore UI CRX file. And basically what you do is you just kind of drag that, take that file from Windows Explorer and drag it right into Chrome, and then just launch your Chrome browser, and it'll show up as a button. Okay, and the first time you run it, yeah, it'll prompt you, to confirm your extension, and then you just say add, yep, and then you'll see this button here. So that's it. Okay, and then just to enable it, yeah, you're already seeing this here. So the very first time you click enable, it'll give you this prompter, are you ready for some really cool stuff here? The guys that actually created this, this was another company that RIM acquired called Tiny Hippos, and they were actually originally from Waterloo. I think it was like a 3-man team. So we actually bought the entire company, and yeah, so they're actually part of our WebWorks team now. So they're actually working on this Ripple stuff here. So, but yeah, you'll actually find a lot of their humor in here. So they'll have things like if you look at the logs, they'll have like Star Trek quotes and stuff like that in there. So tea or Earl Grey and stuff like that, and make it so. So yeah, they're quite the characters. And then the next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to go and grab I guess code signing keys. So if you haven't done this before, this is kind of a pain to do the first time. So usually what I recommend is just kind of going to this site here, and it actually has all the steps. Okay, I'll just take you there. So this is kind of the painful part about it, but once you kind of get it done, then you don't have to do it again. So last time I did this was like a year and a half ago, and I haven't had to touch it since. Let's see, so I think it's under package or app. Code signing. Here, get your signing key. So yeah, if you just go to the bottom of the page, there's a link to get your signing keys. So this is all the RIM legal stuff that you have to kind of agree to. So you can request different code signing keys. You can say you want the NFC one or both. Just fill in all your personal information and hit submit. And what they'll do is they'll send you a whole bunch of files. And then you have to actually follow the instructions to actually register the keys. So I think you can actually click on this link here, learn more about code signing. And then I think it'll actually tell you, or basically give you instructions on what you need to do. And I think they've changed the site a little bit here. Let me back out. So yeah, if you go here, what you need help with, I need help with installing or registering my keys. So click on that. And yeah, what you'll get is you'll get a CSJ file. And just pick from the wizard here, how do I install my code signing keys? Click next. And then there's all these development guides here. So we're probably looking at WebWorks SDK. Yeah, so you kind of have to drill down to get to the actual meat of it. So we'll just jump down here to tablet applications. And then finally, this is kind of where you find all the step-by-step instructions here. So step 1, request the permissions, and then you'll get the RDK file, playbook developer token or something like that. And then basically from the command line, you just run this command, so BlackBerry signer register, and then your actual PIN. So the PIN is what you kind of selected in the form. And the actual RDK file, so you pick that and you specify that. And that will register your key, and then you won't have to worry about this ever again. But yeah, the thing you do want to remember is make sure you back up those key files. Like don't, just like kind of throw them away, because you may need them later on. Okay. Okay, so that's the instructions there. Yeah, so I'd probably say personally that was probably the hardest part for me when I first started, was just all that code signing stuff. Yeah, so there's the instructions again to actually sign your keys. And then the really neat thing about Ripple is then you can actually put all the information right into Ripple, and then you can actually build directly from the Chrome extension. So you actually don't even have to go to command line. I tend to go to command line because I just have a batch file, and then I just have my folder structure arranged in a certain way, and then I can just quickly build with just like one line command. But yeah, you can also do it from Ripple. Okay, so yeah, once you do that, then you can use BlackBerry deploy to basically sideload your application. So basically, by sideload, what I mean is just using your USB cable. So you just plug that right into your device, and then I can actually install the application as a COD file. So I don't have to, upload it to App World or anything like that. So this is how you can actually test it for real. Okay, and this is how you actually install the app. Right on here. So there's this BlackBerry deploy install application, and you can actually do it over the air. So if you're on a wireless network in your office, you don't actually have to use the USB cable. I just find it's a lot faster, it's a lot easier. Because the IP address for this is always the same. It's like 169.254.0.1. So if you're like on a network that keeps changing IPs, then yeah, you have to always find your IP, that kind of stuff. So I just do it over USB. So this is kind of what it looks like when you do it from command line. So, that's the actual file size there, and then you get a result success. And then, oops, sorry. So once you get it installed, so this is a sample kitchen sink application that one of our developer relations guys wrote. So if you actually go to our GitHub site, you can actually find this WebWorks kitchen sink, and you can actually copy and paste code right from here. So, like there's things for doing media queries, viewports. Actually, let me take you over there because I think it's a really good site. Oops. So yeah, this is the kitchen sink. So there's all the different UI elements here. He's actually got a legend here. So this is HTML5 feature. These are CSS3 features here. There's stuff for grabbing user agents, input types. What I want to show you is some of the more native stuff. So yeah, so here we have like some samples for camera APIs. So if I actually click on that, so this obviously won't work in my browser. But if I were to actually take his whole application, install it on my playbook, I could actually take this thing and I could actually take a picture, write it within my application, or I could take a video. And yeah, so we can do here if you actually just want to look at the source code. So he's got a camera.js file here, and on the on-click there's a take picture function here, which is right here. So there's lots of code samples here. So like I said, instead of reinventing the wheel or, like trying to slug your way, through all the documentation, definitely take a look at all the different samples that are already available. And this is probably a really good starting point as well because, there's a lot of stuff for, identity APIs, invoke APIs, right, system level events. If you want to simulate like a bezel swipe, right, all that stuff is here as well. Here's a bezel swipe. Yeah, so here's a swipe gestures. Right, so I can actually swipe here. Oh, that actually worked, okay. So yeah, you can actually use your mouse to test this as well. So definitely a lot of code here that you can kind of leverage. So once you get your application installed, what you can do in Ripple is you can just right-click and say Inspect Element. And then you actually get the Chrome developer tools, and you can actually use this to actually start debugging your application. And in your JavaScript code, you can do a whole bunch of like console.logs and things like that, right, to help you debug. Hopefully none of you guys will use like JavaScript alerts or anything like that, because that's pretty painful. And this actually allows you to kind of drill down into all the properties. And I guess the other nice thing about this web inspector is once you actually install the application on your playbook or your dev alpha, I can actually remotely connect to the web inspector from my desktop browser. So this is a really cool feature. So I'm actually going to try this out right now, just to kind of quickly show you. So, okay, so basically I've just started an app on my playbook here. And all I have to do, so to actually connect to the remote web inspector, I can just go to my desktop browser here. And I just have a link here to Playbook Inspector. And basically the IP address is 169.254.0.1. Oops. Oops, helps if I plug it in. Okay, so once I enter that IP address with this elite port number, you can kind of tell we're hackers. You'll actually get a list of all the different applications actually running, all the WebWorks applications. So if I had 2 or 3 running, you'd actually see those in the list. So I actually have a file viewer here, so I can actually click on this. And what I'm actually looking at now is actually the remote web inspector off that device. So as I'm actually doing things, you'll actually see it show up in the console here. I'm just going to go to my console. On my playbook, I'm just going to tap on something, and there's all my console debugs, right? So I can actually, actually test this thing in real time instead of, try to test on the device, but, I can't see what's actually happening. So you can kind of get all that background information right from within your desktop browser. And the really cool thing is I can actually go to the elements here, and I can actually drill down into the actual content. So, not sure if you guys can see this. Let's hold it up. So as I'm kind of navigating here, you can kind of see the elements are getting highlighted right on the playbook there, right? And the really neat thing is, see the CSS styles here? Let's say I'm trying to debug something, like where something's not lining up. I can actually deselect these things on the fly, and they will actually change right on the device itself. So it's a great way of testing live. Right, so I'm not sure if you actually saw any changes there, but usually what I do when I do the demo is, I'll do like a font size, and then I'll just, make it, font size of 100, and then you'll actually see, everything explode. So this is definitely the best way to debug instead of, trying to use simulators and stuff like that, because now I'm actually testing right on the device. I can actually make, cosmetic changes to the UI. And yeah, the other thing too is what you can do is, like, let's say you want to actually debug your JavaScript code or your HTML code. What you can actually do is you can actually host that on like an internal server, and then in your config.xml file, what you do is you link to that remote file, and then I can actually make changes to that, and then just kind of, basically close the app and restart it, so that way you don't have to reinstall the app every time you make a change. And then, once everything works, then you can, just flip it back to just a local HTML file. So I'll show you that later on. Okay, so that's the remote web inspector. This is definitely your friend. Oops. Okay, so let's actually start taking a look at the old Java app. So I'm going to switch gears here again. I'm going to pull up my trusty BlackBerry simulator. So yeah, here's the icon for the dashboard application. So I'm just going to click on this and just kind of walk you through it very quickly. Okay, so basically, it's just a simple app that has, a couple list items. There's, item here for user dashboard, but basically all it does is it displays user information. So, well, not user information, device information. So I'm actually just pulling out the PIN information, the IMEI number, and the IMSI number. UUID, that's going to be, I guess, the unique identifier on BB10 devices. So instead of a pin on BlackBerry 10 devices, there's not going to be a pin, it's going to be UUID, just so you guys know. So obviously this is not BB10, so that's why there's no value there. But if this was a Dev Alpha simulator, you can see digits there. Okay, so this is just a simple application, and we've actually just added some really basic logic here that if your pin number is a certain number, then you actually see the executive level. Right now, since it doesn't match, I'm just showing you the employee level here. All right, so just some simple logic there. And whoops, go back to that. And there's also an office location, so we added a map. I think this is using BlackBerry maps, I think. Oops. So I need to pull up my MDS here, because it's actually trying to make a request out. Should be able to get some tiles this time. Sorry, this is the one problem with live demos. Okay, but basically what you should see here is a map of the Kitchener-Waterloo area with a couple of push pins on it. So that's not loading. Try it again. Okay, well, I can show you some of the other tabs here. So there's messages. No, I think I loaded it in the wrong app. Yeah, this is actually the BBUI version. Sorry about that. Which one is it? Try the second one here. Oh, wrong one. Okay, there's the Java version. That looks more like Java, right? Kind of ugly. So here's the user dashboard here. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, this one is arranged a little bit different. It's kind of arranged in these kind of tab layouts here. So there's the pin information, IMEI, there's the employee view. Okay, here's the office locations. Okay, here's the map there. And it's a little slow loading the tiles. You can see, yeah, there's a couple push pins here. So just trying to create a simple mapping application. Okay, sorry, I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to try and speed things up a little bit. And then there's messages. So basically all this does is just loads up the actual message app. And same with tasks, it just pulls up tasks. So very simple app that just has kind of two functions, basically to show device information and to show maps. So I guess the first thing you want to tackle here is the UI. So what we did was we just, we wanted to use BBUI because, you know, we figured, okay, that's probably a good start. So what I do is I just go over to the BBUI site. Sorry, I got Tim Neal's version here. Okay, so what I'm looking for is this list control. There's this demo. Okay, yeah, he's kind of updated this BBUI, so it's got some BB10 stuff in it. So it's slightly different. That's okay. Looks like I've got a local copy. Oops, wrong app. Okay, so here's all the different BBUI samples. So you can see, like, we've kind of got a list view, which is kind of similar to what we already have here. I'll just resize this a bit so you can see these side by side. So basically what I did was I went to the BBUI kind of kitchen sink here, kind of looked around and tried to find things that kind of match what we have here. So definitely this list view that he's already got, like, right on the main page, that's kind of perfect right there. So I can probably take that and then just kind of like change these icons and change the layout of the text here. And then as I click on that, like, what does this do here? Oh, sorry, these are BlackBerry 10 only, and I'm on some old 9700 phone here, I think. So I'm going to go down to user dashboard. So we've kind of got this tab layout, so I'm kind of looking for something like that. Yeah, so this is kind of similar, so yeah, I can kind of probably take these pill buttons and, you know, just kind of plop this stuff over here. So take that code. So this is kind of the strategy that you kind of go through to kind of like recreate your UI. So, you know, kind of find something that's kind of close and, you know, find the pieces here, and then you can basically copy and paste that code. Right, and I think, yeah, this one, you didn't have any maps here, so what I had to do was actually I had to create my own map. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of time here, so I've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to, might have to bypass some of the code and just kind of show you the final code, I guess. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is kind of the BBUI version that we created. Right, so let me just jump back here. So you can kind of see they're kind of similar in the list view here. So get alerts, messages here. You know, BBUI actually has like a message list, so you can actually grab those samples there. It's got like a task list here, so, you know, I can kind of drill down by, well, I guess these aren't real tasks, these are more locations, so you can kind of, you know, drill down here as well. But yeah, the main thing here is the user dashboard. So here on my browser here, like just because I'm testing it just straight in Chrome, I'm not getting all this pin information. So to actually test this, what I need to do is actually turn on Ripple. So I can enable that. And then it will actually simulate some of that pin information stuff. So now when I click on here, you can actually see there's a pin information here, there's employee information here. And the neat thing is I can actually adjust that. So let's say like this level here, because the level is actually based on the pin number, I can actually modify that for testing purposes. So if I actually come down here to my device and network settings, you see there's some identity information here. So I can actually go in here and I can actually just change this pin to something. I forget what we used as a test, so see if that works. And if that's the right number, I should be able to refresh this, and you should see executive. There you go. Right. So you can do, you know, quick tests like that. So I can, you know, change device settings. I can change pin information. So if you want to test, you know, different flows, this is a great way of doing it with Ripple. Okay. And going back. Oops. Nope, that's the wrong version. So going back to, I guess, the map here. So this map was just basically using the built-in BlackBerry maps. But I guess there's no real equivalent on the, I guess, the WebWorks side, so you're kind of free to do what you want there. I think there is actually a BlackBerry Maps available now, but for this one, I was thinking about using like Google Maps. I think I ended up just using Bing Maps. So if we go here, you can see I use Bing Maps, and it actually gives me a little more functionality. So I can do these cooler pop-ups. I can actually number all my push pins and stuff like that, and can kind of zoom in and get to different types of interaction. I can overlay data, so you can do a lot more on the web side than you can on, I guess, the Java side. To do something like this, it would take you probably 5 times longer than it would on the WebWorks side. Okay, what are we doing for time here? Okay, so let me. I'll dive into some of the code now that you kind of see what the output was. Okay, so here's a little bit of code. So here's all the, I don't have Eclipse working on here, so I'm just going to pull up all these actual source files just in a text editor. So here's the XML file, or the descriptor for the actual Java app. So all your standard stuff there. This probably means a lot more to you guys than it does to me. I haven't done Java in about, since 2000. So here's the starting point for my application. So I'm just pulling in a couple dashboard demos here, importing the UI application, extending UI application, enter event dispatcher, and pushing screen. So I got those, and here's my actual screen. So you can see there's a ton of code here and a ton of stuff I have to import just for that simple application. So there's all this invoking stuff, mapping arguments, UI, color field, all this stuff here. Then I got to set up all my icons, all my resources. So very painful to do. Setting up my manager here. And there's the actual functions for executing the dashboard, office locations. So definitely a lot of code there. And yeah, it was actually my boss that actually wrote this application because he's a real Java guy. So we kind of said, hey, can you write something quick? And I actually started off with a JSON data file, and I guess he kind of had trouble parsing JSON. So I guess he actually hard-coded all this XML in here. So this is probably not the way you want to write like a real data file. But I guess, yeah, he kind of did this in a pinch. So there's that. And then here's screen 2. So again, a lot of importing stuff. A lot of stuff to set up all my list styles and my buttons and all that kind of stuff. So definitely lots of code there. And then here's the actual code for actually getting the IME information. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8 lines of code. And then if you kind of just take a look at our actual API for that, it's just down to 1 line of code. So I guess what we're looking for here is the identity information. So I just go to identity. Oops. I thought it was identity. All right, time to look at the code. So here's basically the same application written in WebWorks. So we just basically start off with our configuration.xml file here. All right, so I've got a whole bunch of features here. So there's the identity. So BlackBerry identity, that's the feature that I want to use. And you have to set some permissions here to actually read the device identifying information. Okay. And then here's my actual code. So this is all the BBUI code. So basically what I did was I just basically copied and pasted all the code from the actual sample, kind of pasted it in here, and then just, kind of, so this is all the styling stuff. So normally you don't have to do all that kind of stuff. So this is basically all you really need to do to kind of set up BBUI, just right here in the try block here. Right, so you just kind of look for this WebWorks ready event, and you do a push screen, and then basically I can push in my menu file here. So here's my menu. So if you guys are familiar with jQuery, you'll see there's like a lot of data BB types, right? So everything's kind of like all attribute based. Right? So this is what defines the UI, and then I've got something here for all the identity stuff. So basically, when you click on identity, then I'm just pulling in this identity.htm file. So there's that. Right? And then there's no code in here, so this is just basically the actual template for the UI, and the actual code is actually over here. So identity.js, and you can see here to actually get the identity information. It's just one line of code. So it's just this. Where's it? Yeah, so I've got some logic here, for the executive and the employee level here. Creating some list items. And, yep, so this is it. BlackBerry identity, and you just specify which identity value you want. So it's just one line of code just to pull out the identity. So a lot easier than trying to do all this for the IME, and then you have to do all this for the IMSI number. And where's the pin? Okay, but you kind of get the idea. There's a lot less code. And yeah, so basically you kind of look for the functionality on the Java side, and then try to find the equivalent on the WebWorks API side, and then just kind of just slowly move stuff over one at a time, and then basically whatever's left is what you have to basically create an extension for. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Okay, I think we're probably up for time. So any questions? Anything you guys want to see? Just to kind of recap. So you can kind of see, you can kind of create fairly similar applications, but definitely over here you have a lot more flexibility. So that's kind of the key to HTML technologies, where on the Java side, there's just pretty much a couple ways to do it, and not a lot of flexibility on the UI side. Okay? All right. Thank you very much, folks.